Hey guys, Leo here again. First off, I want to apologize for the background noise. If you guys hear that, I got my jar going on, so I apologize for that. But I'm making this video to go over how to inspect your magazines. If you guys are heavily into semi-automatic handgun shooting, well, any semi-automatic firearm for that matter, you guys know that this is usually the cause of malfunctions. You know, a bad magazine, whether it's the spring follower or the tube itself, is usually about 99% of people's issues. So it's always important to check your magazines for serviceability on a regular basis, making sure they're cleaned out. But I wanted to go over a few things, more importantly, the feed lips on magazines when it comes to reliable function. So these three are some of the ones that are in heavy rotation for me in competition, and this is a brand new one that I've never even used. I've got a few of these laying around, and yeah, I like to keep these, you know, to replenish some bad ones that may go bad, but I also like to keep a few around to compare and measure, so that I could hopefully, you know, get the ones that I am using back into spec. So when it comes to the feed lips, of course you want to inspect it, visually inspect it, make sure it's not cracked, make sure there aren't any sharp burrs on the inside and outside, of course. Just a few weeks ago I had one that must have dropped on the concrete or a rock or something, and it developed a pretty bad burr. And what I was noticing was, as my brass was getting fed into the gun, it would score my brass like really bad. So as a reloader, I'm trying to keep my brass in the best condition that I can, so that I can reuse it and reload it. So so visually inspect it, make sure everything's good to go there. And then I think a lot of people that I've talked to don't actually make a habit of this, but I do. You wanna make sure that your feed lips are in spec when it comes to the measurement. Your feed lips will curve inward to keep the round captured. Okay, so here's one that I use on a regular basis. Here's one in a brand new one, and as you can see, like these two, yeah, you can't see the difference. See how this one sits lower than this one? It's because the feed lips on this one have opened up compared to the brand new one, and you'll get that. You know, you're in these magazines, you're jamming 21 rounds into them. There's a lot of pressure there, and it's, you know, trying to push the bullets up, and that's taking the brunt of that force, is your feed lips. So what I'll do is I'll take one apart, the new one anyway, and measure the inside of the magazine, the feed lips. You know, take different measurements at different points, and then of course take your used ones and do the same thing. I've utilized vices, and heck, I've even taken the magazines themselves and, you know, press them down on a table to get those feed lips back in. But the reason why you want to do that, and I think I have one here that does it, and I need to address it, is, I think it's this one. So that looks okay. Yeah, it's a little higher than what the factory or the new one did, but as you can tell with this one, you apply a little bit of upward pressure and it's actually sliding past the feed lips. That's definitely something you don't want. I've had it where I go to reload a mag into the gun, and the top round, I may hit this top round on the mag well and then do something like this, you know, in a weird angle, and I can't get the magazine into the gun at that point. So you want to make sure that your magazine is securely, you know, holding your ammunition. Plenty of things could be the outcome of of having you know, the feed lips out of spec, but that was something that I personally experienced. Was I went to go reload, it hit the base of it, made it go up into a weird angle, and at that point I couldn't get it into the gun. So measure, if you have one laid around, measure a brand new one, get the dimensions, and you know, try and get these back into spec. Try and utilize any method that you can, and you know, they're metal, so they will bend, but also keep in mind that you are bending metal over and over again. And you know, guys, these are expendable. They're expensive, don't get me wrong, but eventually you're gonna have to replace them. What I do with mine when they do go bad is like, these are bad ones that I'll never trust in competition, whether they don't drop free out the gun, or I can't get enough rounds in them, or whatever the case is. I keep them as dry fire mags. So I use these as in-home dry fire mags that I practice with on a daily basis. And eventually a lot of these ones that I do use, they'll end up being the same, or maybe dedicated live fire mags that I just beat up at the range for practice or something. But you know, without a reliable magazine, you are not going to have a reliable gun. So you know, keep in mind, always inspect your feed lips. Of course, the tube itself is important to look over too. Make sure the dimensions are correct, but more importantly, this portion up here is something to really key in on. And you know, the spring itself that's in there, and the follower, like, this is a factory one, but you know, make sure that's in working order too, especially your spring. If you have weird feeding issues, it could be the spring, could be the feed lip. So definitely keep this in mind. Change your springs out on a normal basis, whether it's a round count or a calendar period. Just change them out, guys. There's nothing worse than having a bunch of malfunctions at a match and you not knowing what the heck's going on. So feed lips, springs, followers, and you should be good to go. If you got any questions, guys, message me, let me know. Thanks.